Next to you, Starstruck. An Adrienette Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. Famous AU, Apartments AU, and Fake Dating AU. Chapter 21. They're both silent for minutes. It's silent in the best way possible, though. She's still holding on to Adrienne's face, and in a few days, Marinette will certainly panic and overthink about how weird it must be, but right now, she's never been happier. She's overjoyed. She's elated. She's full of completion. Adrienne's smiling back at her in a non-believing way. She knows her smile reads the same thing. Is this real or is it a dream? It has to be a dream. And yet, it isn't. These past 8 or so months, it hasn't been a dream. It's all been so real. It's all been so freaking real. Wow, Adrienne says breathlessly. He leans his forehead till it rests against hers. So, is this gonna be real now? He asks. Marinette laughs a bit. I think so, she giggles. Adrienne squeals, overjoyed, and kisses her again. She's not sure if it was the cookies he had or the events that just transpired, but it made the kiss taste so good, so sweet. I think I've been in love with you from the start, Adrienne mutters. From the moment that you found out who I was and accepted everything that came after. She laughs. I think the turning point for me was our first movie night, she admits with a blush. I woke up all cozy and warm, and I should have just known that since then there was no going back. It's like floating in air, walking on a cloud. Adrienne grins. Wait, he says, pulling back and grabbing her hand. He tugs her out of her seat, out of her apartment, and into his. She looks at him, curiously. Adrienne only looks back with a sweet laugh. I want to write something down, and show you, too, he says. Their hands don't drop, even as he has her follow him into a room that she's never seen before, even as he rummages through the desks and drawers. Aha! He cries out, grabbing a calendar? She looks at him with a confused expression, but he doesn't notice it as his focus is on said calendar. It's kind of beat up and definitely dirty from pencil lead smudges, but there's something comforting about a used item. Marinette knows that Adrienne likes worn things. They had stories, he once told her with a grin at the vintage painting he'd bought. It's no surprise to her that he's keeping this monstrosity. What's that? She asks, moving to peer over his shoulder. He smiles and sits down in an office chair. For a second, Marinette looks around and realizes why she has never seen this room before. It's his home office, and there's just never been a reason for her to worry about his work life, his job, his emails and socials. None of those. Don't you have an online calendar for all the filming and table reading dates? She asks, leaning onto his shoulder. January is empty, but it's filled with scrawls and notes that are nearly ineligible on the margins. Because that's for work, Adrienne explains, snaking an arm around her waist. This is for me. This is for my real life, he breathes. I got this the day I decided to leave. Obviously, I didn't go anywhere, but this was all part of my plan. Everything I wanted to do when I was on my own, and everything I needed to do or have to be on my own is in here, he explains. Adrienne points to one of the longer blobs of words. This was the note to myself to check out apartments. The last one is our building. Honestly, I could only read this one and the first one in my rage at my father when I called in to sign the papers, Adrienne chuckles. So, it was your awful handwriting that really got us together? Adrienette teases him with an eyebrow raise. Adrienne laughs and nods. I guess so, he hums. And this was my note to pack everything up for my moving day, he says, and then promptly flips over the page. February is a lot more chaotic, if that was possible considering January scrawls. It is more than just scribbles of notes and what-ifs. It's not just Adrienne writing his dreams and hopes anymore. This month was the month he made things happen for himself. January 4th had a huge red circle drawn around it, and the words, moving days, written. Adrienette smiles. That was her moving day too. This is the day it all started, Adrienette says softly, brushing her fingers over the day. Adrienne nods and his arms tighten around her waist. You were wearing a cat beanie, remember? Adrienette jokes. Adrienne goes red, and he groans out like a little child at her for bringing that thing up again. Come on, Adrienette laughs. It's cute, and it's still in your room, so don't act like you don't like it too, she tells him with a grin. Adrienne peers at her with a slight glare, but it's a lot more adorable than it is intimidating. He clears his throat. Moving on, he continues flipping through the pages, showing her the most important days. The day she brought him macaroons, the day they were caught by the cameras and had to start fake dating in the first place, the day of their first date, and many more. Adrienette wants to cry. This is the absolutely sweetest thing that someone's ever done for her. And this is the day of our first kiss, Adrienne says sheepishly. On the calendar. It wasn't so long ago, of course, his birthday was not that long ago. But in her memories, it was eons ago. Since then, it's felt like perfect years have passed. Adrienette sighs and buries her face in Adrienne's neck. She doesn't know what the correct response is, so she just settles for pressing her smile into his skin. Honestly, that was my first real kiss, Adrienne admits shyly. I've had a lot of stage kisses and TV kisses, but they really didn't feel like anything. But with you, it was magical, he tells her with a beautiful smile. Really? Adrienette asks. Adrienne nods. Wow, I guess it really is a special day. Your first kiss, she jokes. Adrienne laughs and agrees with her. And then there's today too. Another special day, Adrienette giggles. We finally both realized that this has been a real relationship for the both of us, she says. Adrienne nods his head fervently. And I wanted you to write it down for me, Adrienne says shyly. He blinks away from her and reaches for a pen on his desk. His hand grasps a red pen, and he hands it to her nervously. If you want to, at least, he says with kind eyes. Marinette's smile is so wide it feels like her face is about to just split in half. Of course, she wants to write it in for him. How is that even a question? She presses a light kiss to his cheek and grabs the pen from him, giggling at the flush on his face from her actions. Don't mind if I do, she jokes and writes with a flourish. The day we both realized that we were in love. Adrien sighs contently as he reads over the words. Like it? She asks him. His smile is blinding. He's her son now, and no, she does not care if that sounds freaking cheesy, because it's true. It's better than any magazine cover that he's ever been on, mainly because the smile is just for her. In love, Adrien hums. We are in love, he states. We are in love, Marinette repeats. So, is this our anniversary, or is it the day that we told everyone that it was? He asks after a few moments. Marinette blinks at him a few times. No idea. I'm sure we'll figure it out, though. She laughs. And yeah, they will. But right now, they are going to bask in the pure joy and probably fate that led them up to this moment. If I have to stop, then you have to stop. Well, I can't stop. That's why you have to. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to shut our mouths collectively and stop laughing like maniacs. Alia! Her friend opens the door and gives them a strange look. Marinette laughs and hands her a plate of baked goods. Hey, can we come in? I have some news, she says. We have news. Alia nods and moves for them to continue through the doorway. So, what brings you two to my house? Alia asks, raising her brow at Marinette specifically. She knows something is up. Alia always knows when something is up. Well, Marinette trails off and looks at Adrien. Their hands are clasped together, but in a place that Alia can't see it. We're officially not fake dating anymore, Marinette says with a huge smile on her face. Alia's eyes grow wide, and suddenly they're flickering between the two of them. What do you mean, not fake dating anymore? Alia says slowly. Like you've made a clean break from the media in a way that won't get her. She points to Marinette, totally killed by all of your. Her finger now points at Adrien, very devoted fans. Or are you no longer fake dating because you actually like each other and it's a real thing now? She asks. Marinette laughs and fits their fitted hands up into Alia's field of vision. The latter gasps and her hands raise up to her mouth, no doubt hiding the very happy and overjoyed smile behind it. The second one! Marinette nearly shouts out, and Adrien nods excitedly and shakes their hands a little. Finally! Alia cries out with joy. She reaches over and hugs them both tightly. You two are crazy. I'm so glad you finally got it figured out though. God, it's been almost a year. Why did it take so long? She says, squeezing them tight. No idea, Adrien laughs. You know, I should have pronounced my undying love to her the moment I realized it, he says, looking at her and smiling. Marinette blushes and looks away. The look is loving and passionate, and it feels like she's kind of undeserving of it. But then again, it's just for her, so even if it's more than she thinks she deserves. Actually, you know what? No, maybe it'd be coming on a little strong. Adrien shakes his head. Alia chuckles. You know, I've always pegged you to be a sap. Teasingly, Alia pushes Adrien's side and he allows himself to be lulled over. Anyway, you're not the only person we have to tell. Julika will end me if I don't tell her today. And we need to talk to Plag and Tiki, Marinette says, exchanging a look with Adrien. Alia fends a gasp of pain. So you're just leaving me? She says dramatically. Marinette looks away, pretending to sob in her hand. Fine, fine, you can leave, she sniffles. It only takes 3 seconds for them to burst out into laughter. Adrien is slightly confused by this, but laughs along, albeit a bit awkwardly. Alia nearly shoves them out the door because she knows that if she doesn't, Marinette will linger forever, and Tiki and Plag will be home, perhaps in bed even, by the time that they finally get there. Marinette thanks her for being the best friend ever. Alia rolls her eyes and says that, "Girl, I already know that." It's hilarious, and thankfully, Marinette and Adrien are at Tiki and Plag's office in no time. It's awesome you guys are still good friends, Adrien says. It was probably hard through university though, Adrien chuckles. He comments. Marinette chuckles, looking out the window. Kinda. It was weird, and at times I felt like we were drifting, but also at times I just knew she had my back, and I could call her anytime, and it made it so much better. It was weird to do things without her. I spent like half a decade schooling with her, and suddenly she wasn't in my math class. But luckily our universities were pretty close, so I still got to see her on weekends, she explains. Adrien nods thoughtfully. I kind of had that with some of my co-stars, so I get it. I wouldn't say we're friends, certainly not as close as you and Ollie are, but it was nice to see them at things or be in another movie or show with them, he tells her. Marinette snorts. Well, they most certainly hear about you now, she jokes. All thanks to my pretty girlfriend, Adrien teases. Marinette goes red. It's not the first time that he said something along those lines, but it's the first time that he said that since they've made things real official. It makes her feel like squealing and maybe riding a rainbow, as dumb as that sounds. She feels like everything is brighter in just a split second, which is crazy and impossible, yet right now, everything feels so possible. It's just so different now that she knows it's real. Marinette? Adrien's voice calls her out of her reverie, and she blinks at him, dumbly, only to realize that he's outside of the car and looking at her through the window of the car, because she is still in the car. We're here, he laughs, opening the car door for her. She blushes and gets out and takes his hand. Tiki and Plag are going to be overjoyed. So, you two finally got it figured out, Plag drawls with a smirk. Tiki lightly hits his arm for the comment, but smiles at them proudly. What? He looks at his wife with confusion. and she just rolls her eyes. This is wonderful news, Tiki smiles. We've actually always known that you two were a little too good at being in love to be actually faking it, she laughs. But because of that, the rest of our schedule is now vetoed. This is all on your terms, she says. Tiki motions for Plag to leave the room and grab something. Aside from one final pre-scheduled interview with Lila, there's nothing left for me to help you with. Marinette makes a face. She totally forgot about the interview with Lila. Tiki notices her expression and chuckles. Yes, but I am sure that it will go well. Or as well as an interview with Lila can go, she says. Plag returns from his office and drops down a binder in front of Adrian. There's a look on his face, and it is a mix of pride, annoyance, and boredom. Marinette knows that the second two are just his perpetual resting state, so she's just happy that he's proud of them. Your folders and everything we've worked hard to plan, Plag states. No need to burn it now. Feel free to burn it or appreciate it, he shrugs. Tiki rolls her eyes at him. Burn it? Really? I'd do that. You better not do that with our marriage license, she threatens him fiercely. He stares back. Nope, actually he shrinks back. Plag nods. Noted. Anything else that you two are worried about? Tiki asks, turning back towards them and looking so pleasantly that, and definitely not like she had just threatened her husband seconds before, even though that scene's actually, it's quite normal, and it's quite amusing at this point even. I'm worried about my father, honestly, but I think we can handle him. He wasn't happy about how we left things, and I don't think he's going to give up the marriage with Kagami thing. She may be able to take it like a normal person, but I don't think he can, he explains. Tiki nods solemnly. I see, she hums. Well, do you know what he'll do? What can he actually do to make a threat? She asks. Marinette bites her lip. Well, I thought about it for a while. I thought that he could shut down my parents' bakery, and I was worried about that, but he actually doesn't have any jurisdiction over it. My parents are, of course, not going to sell it to him, and shutting it down would look awful for press reasons. He'd have to explain why he did it, and it needs to be a good reason. Even trying to bribe them into selling it for a bigger bakery wouldn't work. They love the one we have now because we've always had it, she says. Adrian nods in agreement. And it's not like he can cut me off. I'm already an adult with my own life. He doesn't do anything. The worst he can do is make some snide remark or tell Kagami's mom. Maybe get the press riled up. That's about it. And Adrian looks at Marinette. Been together longer than any other rumor that he can start, so that wouldn't do anything. I mean, she's already become Paris' sweetheart already, so they would not take that well. Marinette blushes at that compliment, and it makes Tiki giggle a bit too. So he'll be annoying, but no real threat, Adrian says with finality. Great, Plag cries out. You two may have a normal relationship, he says. The corners of his mouth twist up. and a smile appears. It's mischievous and devilish, but oddly sweet. "We've done our part. Thanks for letting us see some of that awful romance," he jokes. Adrienette laughs and leans forward. "Thank you for helping us get here," she says, looking at Adrian. "Of course! There's a lot that comes later too, and that'll be fun. Slightly annoying." She flickers her eyes to Plague, but smiles lovingly. "But they will be the happiest of times," Tiki finishes. Adrienette laughs and leans onto Adrian's shoulder. God, she's never been happier. And Tiki's right. There is more in store for them. But this entire fake dating thing came from the four of them. And now it's ending with them too. Everything has come full circle, and Adrienette just knows that her life is going to forever be a up-climbing hill of happiness. She looks up at Adrian, who's joking around with Plague, and catches Tiki's wink at her and sighs contently. It's the finish of their fake relationship and the start of their real one. Maybe ends and beginnings aren't so different after all.